After the interrogation, Vane tells Morinto that she should expect that Kaze and the remainder of the rebels would likely be encountered between here and Mekuna, or shortly thereafter. Vane would also encourage Morinto to think about trying to settle the remainder of her people on Roden rather than Mekuna. He'd mentioned how Morinto presently has people there, that Roden was in dire straits and in need of people willing to rebuild for a brighter tomorrow, how Vox, the ruined city of Roden's eastern border, was a city built on the ideals of meritocracy, and if there was any place that they could build a new life for themselves, unbound by the shackles of their birthrights, that would be the place. That Roden would have more fertile land available for them to feed their people, and likely most importantly, the prospects of Morinto being able to reach Roden's shore and protect her people there without being slain by the remaining rebels seemed much less grim.
Post-interrogation sometime, Thane would gather you all up and tell you a thing. Hey, so I talked to Trespasser. It said Wave and Riffraff are likely in a plane between planes, kind of where they were before they were forged. Not like a soul, more like dreaming. It also said Dilue and Orryn could have been shunted anywhere in the planes, and that we may need to be prepared for them being dead or gone forever. Expletive, son.
Awesome.
Is this something Trespassers sensed, through a connection of some kind? Or is this something that happens to the weapons when they leave the prime material? And Trespasser speaks the truth. When one deigns to use the Amulet of the Plains and fails to tame its magic, it malfunctions in the manner that plucked Orryn and Dilue from us. When such an event occurs, there is a high chance those whisked away could have been shunted to any place on any plane of reality that is not the prime material. There is a significant chance that they may have gone to somewhere on San's intended plane, the plane of the Pale River, however. That is also, when setting aside that the amulet can be used many times, and who should have it and what they attempt with it further makes discerning where they might be found incalculable. This is why I choose to put my trust in Orryn and Dilue's strengths, for if they can acquire the amulet, they may have a much easier time meeting up with us than us tracking them down. I will focus my research on finding means. Sorry, you scrolled off the. I will focus my research on finding means available to us for traversing planes more generally. In this way, if we meet with the rest of the Frost Daggers in Vox, we will have made progress in discerning a means to enter the Feywild, although the amulet may make it moot. If we do not find the remainder of the Frost Daggers in Vox, we shall attempt to leverage what information I glean to divert our efforts to breaching the Pale River, to scour the plain for Dilue and Orryn, once I have ensured Lenny's safety. If we fail to find them there, we will reconsider our next steps. Frost Daggers, does this sit well with you?
The question here from Jared is whether the party can quickly come to an agreement on exactly what you want Winterstorm to help you research.
The answer is no.
It's never quick, Jared.
Responding to Vane, yeah, it was a feeling Trespasser had, though I'm not sure on what basis. Going to Vox works for me. And I say, I don't care what Winter researches, but Thane's priority list has changed a bit. 1, how to locate someone across the plains and or how to move between planes. 2, info on the Fey/Echo and how to reach the Feywilds. 3, the storm/ritual and how to stop it.
Vane's willing to align with that priority list.
If everyone agrees, can we assume Vane told Winter to help?
Vinaya replies to Vane, I suppose if any two people can take an amulet from a god, one way or another, it would be Orryn and Dilue. Yes, she's fine with Vane's proposed course of events. Vinaya's priority list for Winter is, number 1, info about Echo, specifically about how you kill an Archfey. And number 2, how to destroy artifacts. If she's pressed on this, she would clam up a little and look a little uncomfortable, but insist it's important.
Winter would press on the priorities. Do you want her help on how to locate someone across the plains, move across the plains, or fight Echo/the Fae?
Vane suggests a priority list. He says, number 1, moving across plains. Number 2, locating someone across plains. Because if we were only able to locate someone across plains, we wouldn't be able to help unless we could also move across plains. The same is not inherently true in reverse. Number 3, learning about fighting Echo / Fae.
With a little persuading, Vane could get Fane to go with these priorities.
Out of those options, Vinaya wants to prioritize how to kill Echo. Being able to reach her does us no good if we can't kill her, and she has shown willingness to come to us.
Cool.
Okay. So then debate starts.
Now we get into it.
Yep. Vane argues that gathering the Frost Daggers would be essential to being able to face Echo. Actually, I can probably do this in Fate voice. Gathering the Frost Daggers would be essential to face Echo. Prioritizing travel between the planes would allow us to get both the necessary knowledge for finding our companions as well as a required piece of information should we need to seek Echo out. After all, if we gain the knowledge of how to slay Echo, we've seen that Echo has ways of staying apprised of our doings. Echo may not be willing to appear before us personally, ever again, once we learn how to fight her, leaving her forever out of our reach. And there is a possibility we will never be able to slay Echo on the prime material plane at all. It may perhaps be required to venture into the Feywild to seek out an object or source of strength for Echo within that place. Let alone the fact that if we cannot travel to the Feywild, Echo could likely escape at any given moment from our encounters, and we would need a means to pursue her.
I will attempt to go a little in character for this as well, so this may end up being more of a change in wording than what is written here, but hopefully not too much. Assuming that Winter is only going to have time for limited avenues of research, the only one that is most useful on its own, without any insight into the other 3, is the ability to strike a killing blow.
I disagree. If we could only pursue one, being able to traverse the plains would be the most critical.
Then we're able to traverse planes but not actually accomplish our goal.
Perhaps, but it would be child's play for Echo to play keep away with us, never providing us an opportunity to strike a killing blow for the remainder of our lives.
Is it safe to say you're having this debate in front of Winter?
Out of character, yes, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, and that. Yeah. So I tell Jared yes in a second. But continuing the debate. If we operate under the idea that we can only ever learn one piece of information from this research, either the ability to pursue and corner Echo or the ability to slay Echo when cornered, neither information will be sufficient. However, one of those pieces of information may be applicable for another problem we have presently, where the rest of the Frost Daggers are separated from us, strewn across the plains. Then replied to Jared, and then I kept talking. However, if we operate under the idea that we can learn both pieces of information eventually, one now and one later, we should learn that what we need now for both problems, and what we need later to complete the information to actually kill Echo properly. It is very likely that we would also need the capability Thane mentioned as well, the ability to track someone across the plains if we wanted to ensure her defeat. For if she were to retreat from the prime material, we'd likely need to track her down to even know where to go.
Thane would be adamant that we either go after tracking people or traversing across the plains is Pri 1, and after talking with Vane, he feels like traversal is more important. Finding Dilue is more important than killing Echo. Oh, and Orryn.
Winter nods. She concedes, you have the unenviable problem of all being correct. I have to be honest that we could study any of the problems you described for a lifetime, and never make a significant breakthrough. I will search the library tonight for what tomes may relate to planar travel. Of all you've suggested, that type of magic is at least somewhat understood by the arcane masters. I will let you know in the morning if I've found anything.
Confirm Vane is able to help with research.
Mm-hmm. Vinaya looks grim but doesn't object. She is also willing to help, or at least look at book titles for volumes that might be helpful, particularly for her Black Razor situation, but also for planar travel and killing Fae.
Winter is happy to have both of you helping for the day.
Thane would desperately attempt to help, but since he doesn't know arcane stuff, is probably of no use.
Winter is happy to have your help as well, Thane. The evening passes into the next morning, past breakfast and the midday meal. Morinto has food brought to the library for you all, but otherwise leaves you alone, trusting your work to be important. In the first day of research, you cover some basics. You learn of the two most common spells used for planar travel. Plane Shift, a spell too powerful for anyone present, including Winter, can take you to a place that you know of on any plane, but you must know where you're going. An even more powerful spell, Gate, could do the same, but also leave the door open for easier travel, and, most importantly to your search, can target the location of an individual, even if you don't know where they are. Your research reveals that the hardest part of planar travel is to or from the prime material plane. The boundaries between other planes are weaker and easier to traverse. Lastly, you learn of a place called the Nexus, where infinite doorways could take you anywhere on any plane, but you would need to know how to reach the Nexus, and you would need some way to navigate the unknown destinations of the doors. Winter suggests everyone get some sleep at this point, but offers to continue this research with you for another day if you wish. This was only scratching the surface. And the group confirms that they are continuing on this path of research. And then Jared asks if the group is doing anything else. Vane's not.
Vinaya is researching plane stuff, looking out for ways of destroying artifacts. She is practicing with Vapor Flail. She is praying a whole heck of a lot, meditating, chanting a few hours each day now that she's not dedicating most of her waking hours to keeping a ship afloat.
And Thane's not doing anything else.
Right, I'm going to pause for just 1 sec because I must briefly wrestle my cat, and then we shall resume.
All right.
Another day passes for this group. The main research with Winter progresses into what she describes as the exciting part, but your mileage on the enjoyment may vary, depending on your love of organized indices. With the basic information covered, she enlists your help recording references in various volumes to build a catalog you can use for deeper research. This takes much of the day and is unfinished. Vinaya, you find a book that promises to describe a great epic quest to destroy a cursed relic. The book is called The Kenku Twins. Vane, at one point you mentioned suggesting to Marinto that she should go to Roden instead of Mekuna. This is her reply. She would say, I have to rally my people. If we're going to live on the continent, I'm going to need the help of the brokers. In Roden, we would be at the mercy of the Torchline's government and whatever disaster you are facing when you return there. In time, we'll need to gather the refugees who fled to Roden, but Mekuna is our home.
The book Vinaya found sounds too good to be true, but she will start reading it.
Wheels of time spin. 4 more days pass. Vane and Thane, you've been helping Winter with her research. After completing her index of related works, she finds a thread of something interesting and asks the two of you to help her track it down. At the end of these days of reading, Winter is convinced the idea has merit. You have been researching a teleportation circle. None of the casters here are powerful enough to send someone out from it, but Winter believes she could imbue it with enough magic that someone could use it to find their way back more easily. If Dilue and Orryn are trying to return, this could give them a beacon. She asks if you'll help her build it. Vinaya, you read the myth of the Kenku who carried a cursed relic and sought to destroy it. In this telling, the cursed object is a shield created by an evil god. In the end, they destroy the shield by tricking the evil god into taking it back, hidden among other offerings. Winter mentions offhand that this return to sender motif shows up in a lot of early myths, especially when the gods are involved. She can't say how much truth it holds. The other big event at this point is that Marinto's crew has finished the major repairs on the Dizzy Mother, Orphan Throne, and other remaining ships. She knows that you intend to sail for the other continent. She asks if you're prepared to depart, and if you know which ship and crew you're taking with you.
Thane will help Winter build the circle, and then a second, and then a third, and then a fourth. Thane probably wouldn't sleep until the first one is completely built. Thane has a little voice in the back of his head telling him this is likely to backfire and cause some bad thing to teleport here, but it's worth the risk to him. Thane's really torn on where to go from here. The Dizzy Mother has Winter, presumably not coming with us, and the library, definitely not coming with us, that we might be able to take some books. But Vane made a good point about going to Vox or Roden in general, instead of Mekuna. On the other hand, maybe we could find magic items on Mekuna that could help us somehow. A couple of questions for Jared. 1, could Winter come with us if we went to Rodin? 2, could we bring some of the books from the library with us if we went to Rodin? 3, are the materials for this teleportation circle just as abundant on both continents?
Winter would agree to go with you to Rodin. She believes she could take the books she needs to complete the teleportation circle. She says the materials aren't so important, just their arrangement and the magic you imbue them with. She could build it on whatever ship you take. Morinto isn't happy about the talk of Winter going with you, but she won't stop you.
Vinaya agrees that we should go to Fox and probably leave as soon as possible at this point. It's now been, something like 6 days since we took the Dizzy Mother, and that's a long time for Orryn and Dilue to be gone if, in theory, they could jump back with the amulet. Her short list of crew is Winter, Tara, Starianis, Scrapper, and anyone who is left from Lim's right hand. Although it sounds like Winter doesn't know much more about the Kenku twins, Vinaya asks, why would returning the cursed thing to the power that created it destroy it? Is it even plausible that the same thing would work with Black Razor and Echo? And thinking on the return to sender idea, is this found in any Umalaran traditions that Vinaya would know? Lastly, assuming that the two ships available the ships available to us would be Rosemeal and the Forge Bunny. Can we get a comparison of the stats between the two?
Starianis and Scrapper are both excited to stay with you on your journey to Rodin. Tara is not. Her response would be that she's already done far more than she wanted to get involved with. She's planning to stay with Morinto. In the story, the power of the cursed item was removed when it was returned to the god because of some clever wording in how the power was created in the story. Something like, as long as mortals bear this shield, was part of the enchantment, so breaking that condition broke the curse. Winter would warn that real magic is not so susceptible to wordplay, generally. That said, she would say there's some validity to stories like this, where some powerful artifacts would be crafted in such a way that they would be nullified if they were brought back to their creator, so they couldn't be used against them. Winter would describe this as a difficult enchantment, but not unheard of, especially in powerful weapons. So if Echo created Black Razor, it might be possible some kind of similar safeguard could exist. You're not aware of any legends like this in Umalaran stories you're familiar with. Rosemeal and Forge Bunny are functionally identical stat-wise, as both are warships.
Tara, that's fine.
Thane proposes, Red demands, taking the Forge Bunny in honor of Dilue. He'd totally talk up her bravery in the last fight, since he was the only one to see her at the start of the fight. Thane's fine with Vinaya's list of people with some additions. We need a surgeon. Stitcher is coming with us. We also need a bosun, i.e. a ship surgeon, and possible backup surgeon. So we need to find someone that could come along for that if Tara isn't joining. We also presumably need a navigator, Rit Mirage. Thane would ask for Morinto for recommendations and would ask around if she doesn't know anyone we could bring.
Assuming you're all aligned on taking the Forge Bunny, Morinto says she can give you a day to prepare to disembark. The Forge Bunny's surgeon, Stitcher, a Warforged, and Bosun, Madoka, Fire Genasi, both offer to stay at their posts and help you. You're still short a navigator. Morinto doesn't have any suggestions. And you'll need to name a captain and first mate, or ask NPCs to do those jobs.
Okay. You can scroll past this, but this is me.
Still going? Alright.
Vane would note that he feels that choosing a leader since... Oh wait, probably up a bit, because I think...
There we go. In terms of captaining and first mating is what this is referring to.
I think the last thing that I said is important, which is... Yeah, I think that all three of us fulfilled the minimum criteria for captain and first mate, which is water vehicles proficiency and persuasion proficiency. And sorry.
Right. Vinaya proposes that we draw lots between whatever of the three of us who are interested.
Vane notes that he feels like choosing a leader isn't something that we should do by drawing lots. He proposes that either Vinaya or Thane take the role. As you would note, he believes the two of them were the most likely to buck against a leader that they disagreed with, and we can't afford discord at a time like this.
Tracy is very much giggling at the idea of choosing the captain based on who is most likely to mutiny. Vinaya takes it very seriously and thoughtfully. Oh, but she says she is willing to captain if the others think it's for the best. Really non-committal about this.
Vane looks towards Thane. And yourself, Thane? If you wish to ensure the resources of the ship and crew are used to their fullest in the way you deem most appropriate, this is your opportunity to take the helm and steer it. The crew of the Forge Money may also appreciate the continuity of their chain of command if their first mate filled the role of captain while their captain was missing.
Paul asks some clarifying questions about navigating and water vehicle stuff, and then Thane says, in response to Vane, "Look, I just saw my best friend disappear from this plane of existence right in front of my eyes. If you seriously think I'm the best we've got for a leadership role, then you're a darn fool, and we might as well all jump into the sea right now. If it's votes you're looking for, mine are for Vane as captain and Vinaya as first mate. Meanwhile, I think I'm the only navigator on this godforsaken floating mass, so I'm not even sure how Marinto hopes to get back to Mekuna. I'll never be as good as Mirage. Hell, no one ever will be. But I know this is the best thing I can do to help Dilue at this moment, so I'll give it my very best. Vane, think of how proud Lenny will be when he sees Captain Minthaliara arrive in town, and think of the stories you could tell when the day is won under your command."
Vane's brow twitches and he speaks with obvious agitation. Certainly, I would much prefer to have the role of captain myself if I believed it to be true that when the time came for a difficult decision, the Frost Daggers would respect the order of their captain. I would not run a ship like Orryn did, and I believe the two of you would chafe terribly under my command and throw the ship's hierarchy into disarray. Else I would eagerly take the helm for myself. Considering that you are capable of filling the role of navigator, Thane, I'd nominate Vinaya for the captain's role and myself for that of first mate.
In which Jared speaks for all of us, in a way, asking, when did Thane get proficiency in navigator's tools?
Vane's kind of proficient in everything.
Yeah. Turns out it's true.
Okay. In response to Vane, "No one should run a ship like Orryn did, but hell if he didn't get the job done. But hey, if you don't want the glory of being captain, I'm sure Vinaya would be willing to take that responsibility from you, and I'm certainly not going to stand in her way." Sort of to himself, but loud enough for you to hear. If we ever get back, sorry, if we ever get them back, I'll have to tell Dilue and Orryn that Vane Minthaliara gave up the opportunity of a lifetime to be the captain of a ship.
Vane glares at Thane but says nothing further.
I just have to throw this in here because it makes me happy. As to whether or not the Forge Bunny has navigator's tools, because Thane is proficient but doesn't actually have them. The Forge Bunny has a set you can use for this voyage. Captain Foxway has been using them to mix cocktails. Fane, please say the thing you said. I mean,
Okay,
AJ.
I'll say it. Huh, so Foxway couldn't find his way out of his drink, even with a full set of navigational equipment.
The proposed roster for the crew, just to quickly review, is they're taking the Forge Bunny. Vinaya will serve as captain, Vane as first mate, Thane as navigator, Stitcher as the surgeon, Madoka as bosun, Starnace and Scrapper as co-chefs, and Winterstorm is coming along with the original group of rescued sailors, led by Mendo from the original Frost Daggers ship, and then a mix of sailors who are asking to join you to go to Roden instead of Mekuna, since this might be their last chance.
We confirm. Then Vane goes to ask Tara if there's any message that they would like given to Orryn when we next see Orryn.
Sato is always just along for the ride and doesn't comment on who should lead, so long as she's not being nominated or pushed to lead. She guards and guides when she knows where to go, but she doesn't lead anyone, so to speak.
Jared confirms that the Lupo Vertigo, captained by Haru, was reached by a scroll bird, and that Marinto is going to reconvene with him and help them with repairs on the way back to Mekuna. Tara does have a message for Orryn, if you ever see him again. She says to pass along a punch to the gut, followed by, don't forget where you came from.
Vane will remember this.
This is very meta bit. So
It's
I'm
okay.
gonna skip. So we should skip down.
Oh, I thought it was funny. Okay,
I mean I'm fine with saying the joke. I would love to say
Ding.
the joke.
Add it in
Make
there,
the
just
joke.
for...
Make
Okay.
the joke.
Okay, I love that Vane goes up to Tara to ask if Tara has a message for Orryn, and then Thane is secretly listening in and is like,
Oh, a chance to punch Orryn. Leave this one to me, Vane. And then it's like, whoops, that wasn't actually said. So yeah, Thane doesn't actually know that.
Vane would also make sure to give parting wishes to Marinto, declare that it was an honor to serve her as part of her effort to reclaim her throne, and ask her to pass along that he considered it an honor to serve on Captain Haru's ship as well, assuming we don't see Haru again in person before we leave. And then Vane also would also mention that he admires how she has the best interests of her people at heart, and asks that she not lose sight of her goal in her trials to come. And then Vane would inform Tara that he would ensure her message reached Orryn true, thank her for everything she's done to keep us alive and afloat, and wish her the best of fortunes with whatever ventures lay before her. And then after that, I think Vane goes to report to Vinaya in an uncomfortably formal sort of fashion and start attempting to fulfill his role of first mate as wholeheartedly as possible.
In that case, the Forge Bunny is ready to make way after a day of preparation. Any orders, Captain Vinaya?
Well, prior to departing, Vinaya also wants to give some parting words to Marinto to the effect of, I regret that I can't stay to help the fleet any longer, but I will do everything in my power to end the threat that Smokework poses. And also, the wording is important in this one. I pray that your people speak your name only with respect. Let's see, we did the Black Razor conversation, and then lastly, I had wanted to confirm the distance that we were expecting from Fleetwaters to Rodan. I'd written down that it was about a month. Checking that we're properly provisioned, and whether or not we expect to encounter any hostile ships on the way.
Marinto would advise you that it's closer to 6 weeks now to return to Rodan as you sailed back towards the center of the ocean to find the Dizzy Mother. You do have enough provisions for the trip. The stores at the Dizzy Mother were full and have been shared to all crews. There would have been plenty of feasting in the last week to celebrate the victory. She would say that encountering straggler or hostile ships is possible, but unlikely. She believes everyone from both sides has retreated to the coasts, but it's impossible to know for sure. With your ship, crew, and provisions prepared and your goodbyes uttered, the ship makes way. For now, I'm going to say a single day has passed at sea uneventfully. There's plenty of work to do to keep sailing in the extremely rough waters, but the crew is encouraged that this time you're sailing away from the worst of it rather than into it. Winter is hard at work starting preparations for the teleportation circle. She asks if you have a preference of where on the ship to build it.
The brig, but not really. Somewhere in the middle of the ship, so it's not likely to get damaged. Like the very middle, so not on the top deck.
Vane agrees with that recommendation and would explicitly recommend not being on deck, since who knows what will be happening with the storm. He would also recommend ensuring that at least one person is specifically on watch on the circle at all times.
Vinaya agrees. Middle of the ship, not the top deck, and likes having someone on watch as well.
Winter begins work below decks near the center of the ship. She says she's not sure how long it will take to complete the work.
Vinaya goes to check in on the new crew members, which, as far as the named ones, is just, or the officers really, is just Stitcher and Madoka. Make sure that they're settling in and that they have everything they need to work.
You've got a mixed general crew from all the ships now, since this was the last ride to Rodan. Among the officers, then it's Stitcher and Madoka.
Yep. Yeah, so Vinaya would introduce herself, check in with anyone else who is new if they have time for it. Obviously, she's not going to do this if they're in the middle of rowing or slinging ropes or whatever else it is that you do on a ship.
Stitcher's just out slinging ropes at people's open wounds. Like, I think this is what you do.
We'll get to Stitcher's tasks later.
Winter has been using one specific book called The Veteran's Journal as she builds the teleportation circle. It's one of the books she took from the library, but she describes it as hers.
Vane asks, "Is that tome one of those of which you wrote through the Scrollbird, a teacher of your youth?"
No, this was a later addition to the library, one I procured in Roden and donated myself before I settled into my work in Silverclaim. Vinaya, your crew appreciates you checking in, and morale seems high overall. There is some melancholy among the crew that life at sea seems to be over, at least for now. Stitcher and Madoka seem to be cut from the same cloth. They both strike you as pragmatic and undecorated. They've both been in the fleet for a long time, but never saw any particularly interesting action before this war. They seem relieved that Marinto is back on the throne, but are also happy to be free now from their duty to her.
We clarify that Stitcher is not the surgeon from Silverclaim. Then Vane is busy with first mating, but whenever he has any time, he does research and helps with the circle. Specifically, the research is also about the circle, so it's specifically helping with the circle.
Vane would have a little time, but very little because the seas are still so stormy. The second day at sea toward Roden passes. The shape of the teleportation circle is complete now, constructed from tar and spare wood donated by Madoka. Winter warns there's still much work to do to prepare the enchantments, and she admits she's never done this before, if that wasn't clear already. The storm is not better yet, but that matches how long you spent in the rougher seas when you headed in. You expect another day or two of rough weather before you'd be back in waters like when the storm began.
Thane is probably even more quiet than usual. When he's not navigating or helping with the circle, he cannot be found.
The third day at sea passes.
Vinaya is trying to be watchful as much as anybody can in the stormy conditions. It's also reasonable to assume that if anyone gets injured, she would be prepared to heal them. Though, how does Stitcher feel about that?
Stitcher isn't insulted. They would say they've traveled with divine healers before. They have plenty of work to do other than what you've saved them from.
Okay, now for the jokes.
Thane!
See, I told you we need a surgeon.
Yep, Thane's insistence.
Oh, go ahead.
So, yep, because Thane's insistence on getting a surgeon was making Vinaya wonder.
Insert slideshow of Stitcher chasing around sailors and forcing them to take their vitamins.
Stitcher with a burlap bag full of single-serving orange juice bottles. Stitcher drawing up a ship's worth of tetanus diphtheria vaccinations. Shots!
Shots here, get your shots here. We got your tetanus, your influenza, your COVID. You want it, you got it. We got your shots here.
That's where it ends. That's good.
That's it!
The end.
Perfect ending. A photo finish.
Yes.
just
Oh man.
across the finish line.
Beautiful and perfect.